Welcome to the Exponential Edge podcast with your host, Arya Salur. I'm excited to have you join me on this journey, exploring the forefront of technological advancements and innovation that will shape our future. As a junior at Acton-Boxborough Regional High School in Massachusetts and the CEO of SecArmor, a cybersecurity startup, I'm fascinated by the transformative power of technology. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into 5 key areas that are poised for exponential growth in the next decade. We'll be exploring the realms of cybersecurity, generative AI, sustainability and climate tech, biotech and human longevity, as well as the reshoring of manufacturing. And we'll also go over rising startups disrupting the marketplace. These topics and businesses hold immense potential to revolutionize our world and redefine the way we live, work, and interact. Each episode will feature insightful conversations with experts, thought leaders, and visionaries who are at the forefront of these fields. In just 30 minutes, our goal is to provide you with 5 signature nuggets of wisdom from our guests. These key takeaways will empower you with knowledge and help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technological landscape. Without further ado, let's introduce our guest for this week. Hi everyone, and welcome to our episode today with the CEO of Anthology, Bruce Dahlgren. Hi, Bruce.
Hello. It's nice to see you, Ariane.
Great to see you too, and thanks for joining us today. So, first off, you've had a phenomenal career, and you've studied business at Stetson, moved on to leadership roles at a bunch of different tech companies, AT&T, Lexmark, HP, obviously, and have had several high leadership roles and CEO roles. So, could you share some of the highlights and pivotal moments of your career that has brought you to the position today?
Sure. Wow, that's a very nice way to start. So I've been in the industry now for 40 years, and I've had just a wonderful opportunity to work for some great leaders, work with outstanding people, really around the world. We've had a chance to live globally and all of that. I think the way I would summarize my career, the first half was in large public companies, IT companies, like you mentioned, Hewlett-Packard, for example. And I really got a great foundation of understanding how those large companies work and what makes those successful. The second half of my career has been on the private side. I moved into software companies, these being private equity software companies. In the industry, we call them SaaS companies, software as a service. And coming in and working with those software companies and building them up, and it's been outstanding. I've just thoroughly enjoyed both. It's an opportunity to take a career of understanding IT and now apply it into the world of software. As far as impactful things, we lived in Singapore. I was running all of Asia for Hewlett-Packard, and we decided to split the company into 4 companies. And the experience, I lived there and worked there for 5 years, and setting up 4 companies throughout Asia during that time was just a phenomenal experience.
Sounds awesome.
On a personal level, I will tell you an impact. When I was at Stetson doing my graduate work, I actually was an adjunct professor in the business school. Mm-hmm. And my now wife was one of my students. So I thought you might appreciate that. And We've been married for 38 years. So I guess I did a decent job of teaching that class.
Yep. Congratulations. That's funny. Mm-hmm. So obviously in a CEO role or any leadership role, you have to have the experience, which you have 40 years of, but you also have to have the mindset of a leader. So I wanted to ask you, could you, for our viewers, just provide the 3 most important aspects of a leadership mindset?
Okay, well, sure. I think to a large degree, being a leader of a company or an organization is a lot like a personality. Personalities are typically 50% hereditary and 50% environment. And so what I would say is that a leader wants to surround themselves with the best people. They want to have people that bring diverse experiences and backgrounds and skill sets. And then the other part, the environment, is you want to create a situation and a company where they can thrive and be successful. And so I think if you get that combination right, And then I think the third piece I would say is understanding the market dynamics and
Yep.
how you can bring disruption and new innovation into the marketplace so that those people can be successful.
Hmm. Thanks. And now, for listeners who might not be familiar with Anthology, do you think you could provide an overview of your company's products and your customer base? I know you have three main services: Reach, Student, and Blackboard. So, do you think you could provide us an overview and your customer base?
Yes, I would love to do that. So, if you think of higher education and the ed tech, education technology that provides innovation to higher education, there are three fundamental segments. The first and the primary reason for higher education is teaching and learning. In the industry, we call it LMS or learning management system. The second area is think of it as running the university. In the industry, we call it an ERP or student information system. And this is everything from admissions through managing the campus, et cetera. And then the third area is, as you described, Reach. That's our product there. And that is the CRM or the marketing. So think of that as enrollment, retention, and all that of the students. And so in each area, we have a product line that provides software to help with the learning and management systems, the student information systems, and of course the CRM or the marketing aspect.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks. And then I also wanted to ask, what differentiates you guys in a competitive marketplace like EdTech? What do you guys bring that's different?
Sure. Well, you're giving me a lot of commercials here. I appreciate that. I love to promote Anthology.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I would think of it is we are the global leader. We're the only ed tech company that has all three of these software areas. So that's
Yep.
good. That's good. It's good for us. What makes it even better is the one connecting point of all three of these areas is the student. So the student data. So think of it from recruiting the student goes to the university and studies and then graduates, becomes an alumni and a donor. So tracking that student and having data about that student is very important. And that is our differentiation. So it's an area that we call Illuminate. And basically, we can bring that student data to all aspects of the university and think of how that plays into artificial intelligence now. A great opportunity to leverage that information about the student privately and confidentially, but in a way to really help that institution.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And talking about AI, our big topic for today, um, AI in education. First off, I wanted to ask you, obviously, you have a very big part in this right now as the CEO of Anthology, but how do you see AI democratizing learning and providing greater quality education and access to education for students, whether it be loosening the economic disparity between students or just making it more accessible to students with different needs?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a very broad topic. So let me address a couple things along here. I would first say that artificial intelligence and a lot of this aspect has a dark side. Those could be plagiarism, could be maybe hallucinations in the type of research that's done. Potentially people could use it for bad reasons. And so we really decided we're the first ed tech company to bring an AI product, a solution into higher education. And I'm very proud of that. That took place last year. We're actually launching several more in July. And here's what we decided. We decided what's the number one thing that faculty wants to do? That is spend more time with their student.
Mm-hmm.
So let's
Yeah.
take AI and turn it into a productivity tool. So instead of some of the negative things that could happen with AI, let's show the professors, the faculty, that AI could actually be a productivity tool for them. And so our very first product was called the Design Assistant. And it comes with, obviously, the faculty, the professor is in control. They make the decision, but the design assistant allows them to go off, use AI to pull in information, to create a course, pull information into the curriculum, even marketing and designing that course. And we're finding the adoption rates way over 90%. And the reason is because the faculty no longer looks at this threatening. They look at it as a productivity tool that I can use AI so I can make my courses faster. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to having access to that information. And now I can spend more time with my students.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get into it a little bit more, but it's crazy that about 2 months after ChatGPT was introduced, pretty much all schools around the globe ended up banning it when AI should be used as a tool for the future in both education as it's being used in the workplace.
No, that's exactly correct. And the main reason for that is just the magnitude of data, the scale. So once from ChatGPT 3.0 to 4.0, once it went to about 1.7 trillion neurons, these neural networks became substantial enough to where it was, it was very efficient. And now we can start using it. And that data just continues to grow, which is really exciting. I will tell you one thing just along the lines of your question. I think to a large degree, students are expecting universities now to be advanced in technology. I mean, just think of mobility and what we expect through our smartphones and stuff. So I think universities are saying, hey, we're going to have to use AI for some of the capabilities and all that at the school. But I think it's going to the next level, which is students now are expecting to be taught about AI. So when they go into their profession, whatever it is, medical, legal, business, you name it, music, they're expecting to understand and use AI. So I think the universities today, these higher education institutions, aren't just trying to figure out how to use AI. They're also figuring out, I got to start to train and I got to teach AI. And I think that's really exciting.
Definitely. And now I just wanted to talk about AI tutors, specifically for personalized learning plans for single students. So over the last week or two, I've been reading a book by Sal Khan from Khan Academy, Brave New Words, and where he provides an introspective into the development of Khan Migo, probably the most successful education AI tool right now, and how AI is being introduced as a tool for education, for good. So one of the analogies that he made is when Alexander the Great was being taught by Aristotle. Aristotle wasn't just moving past a topic which Alexander probably didn't fully understand, the topic of mastery, right? Alexander had to master all the topics that he was being taught. But nowadays, we're in a sort of assembly line process where kids can get 80%, 90% on a test, and the class moves on to the next topic. Where over the years, 90%, 80%, there's still blind spots that the students not understanding. They're not mastering the topic. So over the years, these blind spots will accumulate, and there's some things that students won't know very well. So can you talk about how AI tutors can sort of shift from this assembly line way of learning to personalized mastery of topics?
Yes, another very broad topic. So there's many things that we could discuss here. There are trends around adaptive learning. And some people learn best by reading. Some people learn best by seeing an example. Some people interacting. And I think you're going to find that as higher education changes, that there's going to be a lot of direction around adaptive learning. And what I mean by that is that we can identify what is the best way for a student to embrace and learn something, and then make sure that that learning experience is tailored to them. And I think that's related to what you were just describing. But I was just in my head, wouldn't it be cool instead of reading about Aristotle, is have him actually show up as an avatar in your class?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be cool to actually have a conversation? Then you'd really,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we got a ways to go.
Yeah.
Here's what I would tell you. Maybe this will be interesting to the listeners. I don't believe it's either or, right? So think of it this way: human intelligence is based on experience, right? And the more experiences you have, the more knowledge you have, and experiences and intellect and experience, right? So artificial intelligence is basically teaching a computer to think like a human, to have human intelligence, but it can't because it doesn't actually have those experiences.
Yeah.
So it's all about the amount of data. And as the data increases, it becomes smarter. And so the bigger the neural networks are, the better it is at making these decisions and putting that all together. So then you would say to yourself, okay, what's better, having a professor, human, or having AI teach the class? And here's what I think the answer is: the combination of both. Because the computer will never have the interpersonal skills that you and I are having right now. Now, there could be a video of one, but let's be honest. We know that you're a human, I'm a human, right? On the other hand, a human would never have the ability to go and research things and be able to bring in that much data like a computer. Remember, a computer doesn't get sick. It doesn't need time off. It doesn't take a nap. So the answer, I believe, in the future here will be the combination of the two. And so what you'll have the interpersonal abilities of the human intelligence with the magnitude of data and knowledge and history and research that artificial intelligence can bring. And so that's really what we're focused at Anthology, is how do we bring this experience in an adaptive learning into the environment? I'll mention one thing that you might find provocative as you're studying in school and thinking about universities and all. How do we measure IQ today? If you think about an IQ test, like an exam to get into a university or any really test in today's environment, it's predicated around your ability to memorize things, whether you read it, see it, hear it, your ability to answer a question based on what you heard or saw or read. If all of those facts and all of that information is available, then what is real intellect? Isn't it your ability then to interpret and evaluate and communicate that information, not remembering it or memorizing it? And I think that is a perfect metaphor and example of how human intelligence and artificial intelligence comes together. And I think that the human evaluation and testing and all that will have to change. As a
Definitely.
hold off, because that's not going to stop, right?
Yeah. And I'll bring up a point to your earlier idea that teachers and school itself has to change a little bit. And I wanted to bring up one specific type of teaching now, which is, I believe it's called flipped classroom learning or inverse learning, where traditionally a teacher would teach the material in class and then give the kid homework. And now with AI, that might be a problem, as AI can help the student do pretty much no work, not do any critical thinking or problem solving, and just fill in the homework. But with inverse learning now, teachers can assign students videos and practice problems with the help of an AI tutor at home, and then they can do the classroom discussion and the worksheets all in class with the teacher being able to roam around and help them in real time. So that, one, uses AI as a tool for education, and two, limits the cheating. So I wanted to ask if you had any ideas about that as a possible change in learning.
I think you did an excellent job of explaining it, and I'm super impressed. I think the way I would summarize it is I think the future of this education is going to be much more around the soft skills. And I find it ironic because a lot of people, when you talk to them, they feel that smartphones and texting and I mean, even going back to email, etc., is taking human interaction away.
Mhm.
However, what you just described is bringing more human interaction because I'm not hiding behind a computer that's sending a digital message that I don't know whether it came from me or not. You know it's me giving you this answer because you can see me. If you couldn't see me, I could be getting the answers from anywhere. And so I
Mhm.
think there is a complete reverse or a flip in the fact that these soft skills and our ability to communicate and these interpersonal aspects will become much more important in the educational environment. And I think it's super exciting.
Mhm. Yep. And now, talking about teaching and AI, I know that was one example of how the classroom is changing, but can you talk about any other ways in which teaching will change with the use of AI, how AI can be used as a helper in the classroom along with the teacher, and possibly what Blackboard is helping with?
For sure. Yes. Okay. I would say that traditionally we've looked, think of data as structured or unstructured. And what I mean by that is structured data, ones and zeros. These are words that are in a database that you can access, right? So if you were to go and query something, it would come back to you based on the database and the structured data. The future is all around unstructured data. And these are
Yep.
things like video, like handwriting, like hearing, sound. And I think when you look at, I mentioned adaptive learning and some of the new advancements, it's all around seeing videos and videos tailored to the question so that the learning becomes alive. Not just I read something, I tested on it. Now it's I'm actually a part of it and I become active in that unstructured data. And it's not far away. It's not far away.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's exciting. And now, taking all of what we've discussed, and like I said before, AI is already apparent in the workplace, and the education system has to adopt AI to prep this new generation for an AI filled workforce. There's either going to be people who are not fluent in prompt engineering or AI, and people who are, and the people who are going to see exponentially more career success in the next decades.
Agreed.
So, how do you think AI can prepare kids to thrive? And what skills do you think will be most critical for their success in the workforce?
I actually think if you look at the generation now that's going into universities, I think they're already comfortable with how the mobility and how all of this digital aspect works. So I would actually suggest that the university environment, the higher education, has to change. And this is not an easy thing. And it has to change responsibly and all those things. But go back 20 years ago, the universities in recruiting students were all focused on the amenities, a sports field, a pretty
Yeah.
dorm, a dining room that was pleasant to eat in. And those are not bad things. But then we went into a generation that got focused on student success. So these were, counseling, advisory services, all very valuable. Today's students, like yourself, that are looking for universities and want to experience all this, they're expecting to see the technology. They're
Mhm.
expecting that AI is part of what they're doing. They're expecting that they're going to learn how to apply a lot of this new AI technology in their lives and in their careers. And so I would suggest it's not just the learning experience, but the institution has to start shifting in its mindset. And I'm not suggesting that AI teaches the class, the faculty teaches the class, but the
Mhm.
AI becomes an enhanced experience for all of them.
Mhm. Yep. And now, as we come to the close of this episode, um, I wanted to ask you. I'm writing a book with all of my podcast experiences and learnings through, I think, about 30 episodes so far. So, I wanted to ask you, as a global traveler and someone who follows these tech trends and is a part of these tech trends, what are possibly the 3 to 5 most important fields that are going to see the most growth and adoption over the next 10 years?
Wow, that's a big question. I actually think just about every industry segment will be disrupted by the new advancements, especially artificial intelligence. And if
Mm-hmm.
you look at the stock markets and you look at the companies that are tying themselves to artificial intelligence, people want to invest. And the reason is because there's an impact everywhere. Now, you and I have been focused on higher education, but let's be clear, whether it's retail or banking or manufacturing, any of these are all being impacted by artificial intelligence, by this capability. I would say there are two things that I would comment on, and I don't know if it's directly connected to careers, but I have had the opportunity over the last 40 years to see data processing go into networking,
Mm-hmm.
go into the internet and the ability to share all this. What's really exciting now is the data is there. It's available and it's growing exponentially. And so what that's doing is that's fueling applications. And these applications are impacting every industry, from autonomous vehicles to new retail concepts. It's endless. And I think whatever field you choose, having that link back to technology is important. The second thing I would say is that a lot of the innovation, especially around application development, historically has only come from a few geographic areas. We
Mm-hmm.
take Silicon Valley, all that. New world. Innovation, application development is happening everywhere. I mean, take Boston, your backyard, but
Yeah.
globally, everywhere. And so now you have not only the capability of all the data, but on top of that, you have all of this development work that's happening globally. And it's just, I mean, it's exponentially fast. And so I think it's exciting. Whatever industry, whatever field, take medicine, for example, we're still going to want surgeons operating on us, but the
Mm-hmm.
surgeons will be smarter and have more tools because of the technology.
Yeah.
And I think your book is great. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you. So, to end us off, finally, Bruce, do you think you could give us your 5 key takeaways from our conversation today for high school and college students as they prepare for their future careers and just about ed tech in general?
Sure. Okay. So I wrote down 5 things, and this was only one person's direction and opinion. But the first thing that I said was to set large goals. When I think back to my career and all of that, I think you want to be aggressive, to set large goals, and the world's out there to make that happen. Especially now, I know there's a lot of global challenges and a lot of other factors, but set large goals. The second thing is, as you work through your time and you go through school and you do all of this work, I think it's very important that you stay balanced. A lot of times, we get focused on one task. It could be getting an A on this test, or it could be graduating or whatever. But make sure that you balance your time to experience things and be a part of activities. When I look back at the learnings and the things that I've had, even in my career post college, it's so much of my learning has been a part of things and participating in activities. The third I wrote was strive for excellence. I think this is really important that maybe it goes back to setting the goals. But, if you look at people that have been really successful, you look at people that have come through new innovation, new areas, they're always pushing to do better, to not accept the fact that this is enough and I want to do more. And I know sometimes people look at that and say, well, you should be happy. But I don't know. I've always been driving for something more. The fourth thing I wrote down was remember how important relationships are, to build relationships. And I think of my company now, Anthology, and all these wonderful employees. We just have a great company. And then I think of all the other places that I've worked and people that I've met with. And those relationships play out so much in your career, in your life. And you don't necessarily ever really know who you might run into in a meeting or an airport or something. So take time to build relationships. And then my last point would be to enjoy the journey. Um, I might not always be the best at this, but sometimes we spend more time thinking of the accomplishment. I got to get this done. I've got to accomplish this, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Don't forget to enjoy the process, the journey of accomplishing those things, because life goes by quick, and all of a sudden you're old like me, and you wonder how did all that time go by. So enjoy the journey. Those would be my 5 points.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Exponential Edge podcast. And for our viewers, thanks for watching this episode. And tune in next time to learn about businesses, topics, and trends that will see exponential adoption in the future. Thanks, Bruce.
Great job.